Hey, everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. We always try to look at the latest and greatest in market research. And, today we're going to be talking about AI and its use in market research.
AI and market research.
Okay, but with a twist.
Okay.
So we're going to look at the risks specifically.
The risks, all right.
Exactly like what could potentially go wrong.
Oh.
When algorithms meet insights.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how there could be a few things that could go wrong there, but yeah, let's unpack it.
Yeah, we've got some really interesting material today, actually, from ResearchWise AI.
Okay.
They're a company that specializes in AI solutions for market research.
Okay, cool. So they're like right in the thick of it then.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
We've got a document from them, actually, that answers 20 questions about their approach to AI in the field.
Okay.
And then we've also got 2 podcast episodes with the founders.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ray and Will Poynter.
All right, interesting.
And I think one of the things that's really interesting about all of this material is that while they're super optimistic about the potential of AI, you can also see that they're very aware of the potential pitfalls. And so that's really what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have a good perspective on that, being the ones who are actually building this stuff and, facing those challenges every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's jump right in.
Okay.
So how is AI currently being used in market research?
So ResearchWise AI describes its platform as automating a lot of those initial tasks.
Okay.
Like analyzing data, summarizing findings, identifying key themes, even drafting reports.
Wow.
So it's like having the super-powered research assistant, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
But one of the things they emphasize is the importance of what they call a human-in-the-loop approach.
Oh, okay.
So they really see AI as a tool to assist researchers, not to replace them entirely.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you still need that human element in there to, make those judgment calls and, make sure that things are on the right track. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to kind of interpret the findings right. You need someone to take all that data and turn it into something actionable.
Sure.
But let's face it, even with the best intentions, there are going to be risks involved when you bring AI into anything.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, any new technology has its own risks.
Definitely. And, one of the biggest concerns they highlight is data quality.
Oh, yeah.
The whole garbage in, garbage out principle.
Right. Yeah.
If you feed bad data to an AI, you're going to get unreliable results.
Makes sense.
And then that makes me think, also about bias.
Oh, yeah?
If the data is skewed in a certain direction, the AI is just going to amplify that.
Right, totally. Yeah, you're essentially building on a shaky foundation there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting how ResearchWise AI approaches this.
Okay, how do they do that?
So they actually use simulated data to train their models.
Simulated data.
Which I thought was really interesting, and that helps them avoid those ethical and legal complexities of using real client data.
I see. That makes sense. That's really smart.
Yeah, so it's like they're creating this kind of sandbox where the AI can learn without being exposed to potentially biased or sensitive information.
Right.
But I wonder, even with the simulated data, is there still the possibility of, AI hallucinations? Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah. AI hallucinations. It's like where the AI just makes stuff up.
Exactly. And it's factually incorrect or just totally nonsensical.
Yeah, it can be a big problem.
Yeah. So, imagine you're using AI to analyze consumer sentiment about a new product, but then the AI, because of a hallucination, it misinterprets a bunch of sarcastic comments as genuine praise.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And suddenly you're making decisions based on data that's totally flawed.
Yeah, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. So it's really interesting how ResearchWise AI is kind of trying to get around this.
Okay, so what do they do?
They're combining static algorithms with additional AI checks.
Yeah.
And then, of course, human oversight.
Okay, so multiple layers of protection.
Exactly. And they're trying to catch these hallucinations before they cause any real damage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it makes me think about, for our listeners, how much trust should you place in the outputs of AI when you're using it for market research? It seems like a healthy dose of skepticism is still warranted.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a tool, and any tool, it needs to be used responsibly and, with a critical eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
You always got to double check.
Exactly. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about, we've been talking about AI as a research assistant.
Right.
But what about AI as an independent agent?
Oh, okay, so taking it to the next level.
Exactly. And in one of the podcast episodes,
Yeah.
Ray uses this really interesting analogy of a Roomba.
A Roomba, okay.
It's a simple example of an autonomous agent.
Right.
Like a program that operates independently to achieve a goal.
Okay, so in market research, what would those goals be?
Well, they could be things like, dynamically adjusting data collection,
Okay.
identifying bogus responses,
Hmm.
even like proactively searching for information that's relevant to your research project.
Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's a really exciting concept.
Yeah.
Like imagine having this AI agent constantly working in the background, refining your research process, uncovering insights that you might have missed.
That would be amazing.
But then I can't help but think about all those Roomba horror stories,
Oh, no, like when they drive off the stairs or something?
Exactly, or smear pet messes all over the house.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So it's like, what if an AI agent in market research
Yeah.
makes a decision that seems logically sound based on its programming, but ends up having these like unintended and potentially harmful consequences?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So we've got potentially flawed data AI hallucinations and now rogue AI agents making questionable decisions.
This is starting to sound like a recipe for disaster.
I know, right?
Yikes. I mean, it's not quite a disaster yet, but I mean, it really highlights the importance of understanding the different levels of autonomy when it comes to AI agents,
Yeah.
right? Like you have those fully autonomous agents like the Roomba, but you also have these like reactive agents that interact with the user in real time.
Oh, okay. So it's like more like having a virtual research assistant
Exactly.
that you can consult with and guide,
Yeah.
rather than just like setting it loose and hoping for the best.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And I think it's actually in this realm of reactive agents where we see some really interesting potential applications for market research.
Okay, like what kind of stuff?
Well, for example, imagine you're designing a survey.
Okay.
A reactive AI agent could analyze the questions, like in real time,
Oh, wow.
flagging any potential biases or ambiguities that might skew your results.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
It's like having an extra pair of eyes constantly checking for errors and inconsistencies.
Exactly. Yeah. And it could really help improve the quality of the data that you collect. And that's just one example.
Yeah.
Reactive agents could also be used to like monitor data collection, identify and remove bogus responses, or even like adjust the survey questions on the fly based on the responses you're getting.
Wow, that sounds incredibly powerful.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
But again, it makes me think about like
Yeah.
the potential for things to go wrong.
Of course.
Like what if the AI agent makes a bad call?
Right.
Like say it throws out a bunch of legitimate responses because it misinterprets them as being bogus.
Yeah. That's definitely a valid concern, and it really underscores the need for, that human oversight.
Right.
Even with the smartest AI, there's always a risk of unexpected outcomes.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have those checks and balances in place, to make sure the AI is working as intended and that the human researchers are ultimately in control.
Yeah, it seems like this balance between AI capabilities and human oversight is like a recurring theme.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because like we're constantly trying to find that sweet spot
Mhm.
where AI can augment our abilities without taking over completely.
I think that's a great way to put it, yeah.
And this kind of brings us back to the issue of data security and control.
Oh, okay.
Because like the more we rely on these AI systems, the more important it becomes to safeguard our data, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's where this idea of running AI models locally comes in.
Locally, okay.
Yeah, so instead of sending your sensitive research data to a third-party platform, you could potentially run the AI analysis on your own computer.
Oh, I see.
And one of the podcast episodes actually focuses specifically on this concept.
Okay.
And Ray even shares a personal anecdote about using a local language model on a plane
On a plane? Boom.
for access information offline.
Oh, wow.
And it's a great example of how local AI can provide both convenience and security.
Yeah, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah, so even without an internet connection, you could potentially analyze research data or run simulations using a local AI model.
Wow, that's a game changer.
Yeah, and from a security standpoint, running AI models locally means you're not entrusting your data to a third-party provider.
Right.
You have complete control over where the data is stored, how it's processed, who has access to it.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
It's like having your own private research lab,
Right.
But instead of test tubes and beakers, you've got lines of code and algorithms.
That's a great analogy. I like that.
But let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Most market researchers aren't programmers.
Right.
Is this really a viable option for the average person?
That's a good point. I mean, running AI models locally does require a certain level of technical proficiency.
Right.
but the tools and resources are becoming more accessible all the time.
Okay.
So there are platforms like LM Studio, for example, that make the process surprisingly straightforward.
Okay.
You just select a pre-trained AI model, download it to your computer, and you're good to go.
Wait, so you're telling me that I could potentially download and run a large language model on my laptop right now?
Yeah, it's simpler than you might think.
That's crazy.
And as technology continues to evolve, we can expect these processes to become even more user-friendly.
Right.
Remember a few decades ago, the idea of having a powerful computer in your pocket seems like science fiction.
Right.
And now we take smartphones for granted.
Exactly. So you're saying that local AI could become as commonplace as like using a smartphone app.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a trend to watch. And as more AI processing moves to personal devices, it could have a really profound impact on the market research landscape.
That brings up a really interesting question, like how will this shift affect the future of market research? Will it lead to a more decentralized and democratized research landscape where individuals and smaller organizations have access to the same powerful tools as these large corporations?
Yeah, that's a fascinating question, and I think it's one that we'll have to grapple with as this technology continues to evolve.
Yeah.
But for now, I think it's important to focus on, the potential risks and challenges associated with local AI.
Yeah, you're right. We need to be realistic about the potential downsides as well.
Absolutely.
And for example, wouldn't the computational limitations of personal devices hinder the analysis of like really large data sets?
That's a great point. Yeah.
And wouldn't there be a risk of individuals misusing these powerful AI tools?
Absolutely. Those are excellent points. And they highlight the need for, careful consideration and responsible implementation.
Right.
Local AI is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
But it's not a magic bullet.
Right.
We need to be aware of its limitations and the potential for misuse.
So it's not just about giving everyone access to AI.
Right.
It's about making sure that they use it ethically and responsibly.
Exactly. And that requires education awareness and a commitment to developing best practices for the use of AI in market research.
It seems like there's a lot to consider as we enter this new era of AI-driven market research.
Absolutely. But one thing is clearly, AI is here to stay, and it's going to have a profound impact on the way we understand consumers and make business decisions.
Well, our deep dive has certainly been enlightening. But I feel like we've only scratched the surface of this really complex topic.
Indeed. And as AI continues to evolve at such a rapid pace, the need for, ongoing discussion, critical evaluation, and responsible implementation will only become more crucial.
So what are some of the key takeaways for our listener? What should they be thinking about as they kind of navigate this new landscape of AI and market research?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that AI is a powerful tool, but it's not a silver bullet. It's essential to approach AI with a balanced perspective, embracing its potential while also being aware of its limitations and potential risks.
Right. It's not about fearing AI. It's about understanding it, using it responsibly, and always keeping a human in the loop.
Precisely. And as we move forward, it's crucial to stay informed, to engage in open dialogue, and to work together to ensure that AI is used ethically and effectively to advance the field of market research.
Okay, before we wrap things up, there's one more aspect of local AI that I want to touch on.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that running AI models locally offers advantages in terms of data security and control.
Right.
What about the concept of data sovereignty?
Oh, yes. Data sovereignty is a really critical consideration, especially in the context of AI and data privacy.
Okay.
It's the idea that data is subject to the laws and governance structures of the geographic location where it is collected and processed.
So if you're a company operating in multiple countries,
Yeah.
you need to be aware of the different data privacy regulations in each location.
Exactly. And that can get very complicated very quickly.
Right.
But with local AI, you have more control over where your data is stored and processed.
Okay.
This can make it much easier to comply with data sovereignty laws
Right.
and to ensure that you're handling sensitive data responsibly.
So local AI can actually help to simplify data management
Yeah,
and reduce the risk of regulatory violations.
precisely. And that's a significant advantage, especially for companies operating in industries with strict data privacy regulations like healthcare or finance.
Okay, this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of AI and market research with a special focus on the risks.
It's been a fascinating exploration, and I hope it's given our listener a lot to think about.
We've covered a lot of ground, but I have a feeling we've only scratched the surface of this really complex and rapidly evolving field.
It really does feel like we're just at the beginning, of understanding how AI is going to like reshape market research.
Yeah, it's exciting and kind of daunting at the same time.
Oh, totally. It's like we're standing at the edge of this vast uncharted territory, right?
That.
And as we kind of venture into this new landscape, I think it's important to remember that AI is ultimately a tool.
Right.
It's up to us to use it wisely and ethically.
And speaking of ethics,
Yeah.
there's one risk that we haven't really talked about yet.
Okay, what's that?
The potential for AI to be used for like malicious purposes.
Oh, right.
You know, what if someone were to use AI to manipulate market research data
Oh, yeah.
or to spread misinformation?
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
I know.
Like, imagine a competitor using AI to create like fake social media accounts
Oh, gosh.
and spread negative reviews about your product. Oh, wow.
Or even worse, you know, manipulating survey data to skew the results in their favor.
That's a really scary thought.
Yeah, it's definitely a valid concern, and it highlights the need for, you know, vigilance, transparency,
Right.
and developing these really robust security measures to protect against the malicious use of AI.
So it's not just about like us using AI responsibly,
Right.
but also about guarding against those who might try to exploit it for their own gain.
Exactly. And that requires, you know, collaboration across the industry,
Yeah.
the development of like ethical guidelines, best practices for using AI in market research.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
but I'm left with this kind of lingering question.
Okay.
How do we balance the incredible potential of AI with all of these very real risks that we've been talking about?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. And I don't think there's an easy answer,
Right.
but I do think knowledge is power.
Oh,
The more we understand about AI, you know, its capabilities and limitations,
Yeah.
the better equipped we'll be to navigate this whole complex landscape.
Yeah.
So it's about approaching AI with a critical eye,
Yeah.
being aware of the potential pitfalls, and always keeping human judgment in the loop.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to remember that, you know, AI is constantly evolving.
Right.
What seems risky or challenging today might be commonplace tomorrow.
Right.
So the key is to stay informed, adapt to change, and never stop learning.
Well said. I think that's a great message to end on.
It is.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and market research. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit thought-provoking.
It's been a pleasure. And to our listeners, you know, we encourage you to continue exploring this ever-evolving landscape and to approach AI with, you know, a healthy balance of curiosity and caution. After all, the future of market research is being shaped right now, and it's up to all of us to make sure that it's a future we can all embrace.